Morning. So we have some folks here from Disability Advocates, and I'm just going to briefly talk about some of the initiatives that we've been working on with them for the last year. And then I think they'll get into a much more detailed inventory of what they've accomplished over this year. I think the first one is just their accessibility consulting. And we've incorporated them into all of our projects, whether that's a direct thing or whether it's indirect through the consultants that we hire. So any project that we're investing in now has this lens going through it, and really, I think, giving us some really good advice on how we make these projects more universally accessible. It's interesting because they had an event a few weeks ago with a national speaker named Stephen Wright. And afterwards, we talked a little bit, and one of the things that he was intrigued most about was the fact that we now are incorporating this stuff into our projects. And he went back to a national listserv and was asking questions of any other municipalities that were doing this nationally, and he got no responses whatsoever. So his takeaway at this point in time is that this community is really leading the way in trying to incorporate some of this stuff into our public projects as we make these investments. And I think that that's a really good thing, and it's something that we have been very purposeful about over the course of this relationship with this group of folks. So we're really excited about expanding upon that and really using it as leverage with some of these projects to make sure that they are more accessible and universally accessible at that. Obviously, there's a learning curve with a lot of that stuff, and we do make mistakes, so we're moving forward with that stuff and trying to get better about it as we move forward. The other one is just auditing downtown accessibility in general, and I think that this is an important one. They have looked at venues, parking, pathways within our downtown, and really have an extensive inventory that's been established for those that we really want to incorporate into some of our information that we're putting out, and maybe with some of our partners as well. Just allowing people a little bit more predictability to move around downtown as they come down here, so that they don't get into a position where they can't get somewhere because of something that they were not aware of. And then the last thing I'll say is that they're also doing a very similar methodology with our events. So last year they did a lot of work with World of Winter, looking at ways that we can improve the accessibility of that event. They've looked at numerous other events that we're putting on. So I think that this is an evolving process that we're working through, and we're really excited to be able to make these little tweaks. Oftentimes not necessarily very big investments, but they do have a lot of bang for the buck. And it's not just about folks in wheelchairs using wheelchairs or people using white canes. It really, when we talk about universal accessibility, it's really about making it better for everyone. And I think that we're doing that on a very incremental basis. So we're excited to continue that work with these folks. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and Kim.
The venue descriptions, another part of the Access Navigator, will provide is a short list of features present at a given property or space. Emphasis has been more on short digestibility rather than expansive narrative. To date, we have assembled lists and narrative for over 50 restaurants and bar venues within the downtown footprint. In addition, we have evaluated and assembled data for 30 parking lots and park properties. And these numbers will continue to grow as time goes on.
I'm Vicki Schmidt. Hello, everyone. I have really enjoyed being a test pilot for the programs going on in downtown, and the mapping of all the Wayfair, all of the walkways and everything about downtown, not just the venues. But the venue work has been really interesting because we were meeting for having a brainstorming meeting, and trying to find ways to make what Jackson and all of us have been compiling and doing, how to make that shareable and to have it stay relevant. And in that conversation, this happened in June, just realizing that we needed a bigger company to be involved, someone like Google Maps, for instance, and we were trying to figure out ways to make this easily available, but also like embedded within a program that we're all using already. So that evening, I wrote a letter. I texted a connection that we had into Google because Dave, challenged me, which was great. He was like, "We need to get into Google." And so I went home that night and sent off an email at 10:30 and got an immediate response back saying, "Absolutely." And he goes, "I know just the person at Google," who ended up being Sasha Blair Goldenshawn. And they were, Google was very impressed with what we were doing once it was shared. It was from Tim Woods at Pococo Labs that had worked here in Grand Rapids with some of the projects. But anyway, how excited they were with what we were doing already, and how we are very innovative, our city, in doing this. And that evening that we had our meeting is when the first time that came up with the embedded wheelchair, the active wheelchair user. And so this is now on that came live and out of London. And so they were our timing was perfect to write to him that night, because I remember looking at, after I had found my way using Google Maps to drive there, I looked down at where we were and I was like, I saw that on there, and I thought I was seeing something. I'm like, I was wanting to use Google Maps, saying we should use Google Maps. Well, they've already taken this first step. They are in the process of doing so much more, but there's all of these different layers that are available with these navigations that we'd like to help them, and they're excited in working with us about having a whole accessibility layer available on Google Maps, how you can navigate by using a bike or a cab, how you can click on what you're using, and having an accessible, because I use like the bike path when I'm rolling around downtown. Sometimes the walking isn't quite appropriate. The bike seems to be better, because then I can avoid curbs and stairs and things like that. So I was sharing with the group how I use that, and also with Google, and they were just really excited to hear what we're doing, have given us suggestions on how to compile the navigator that we've been working on and get that into Google Maps very soon. So all of these will be expandable. Instead of just showing what it is now for each venue, there'll be expandability, so you can then draw out of it what you need and what applies to you, and maybe creating an accessibility layer, or maybe just for different things. So it's just exciting. We're excited to keep continuing, and we've got really some good things ahead that we'll be able to do.